Hey, what's up, family? This is the Pregame Show Network. I am Tolly Carr. Today's show is The Big Boys. Joining us now, he's Carl Reed, college football analyst, 24/7 Sports, and of course, our guy, Uncle Neely, somewhere in Colorado. He's got so many towns in, Westminster, Boulder. You just never know where Neely is rubbing elbows. Where are you at today, Neely?
I'm actually on campus. That's the stadium out that window. I'm in the one of the offensive analyst rooms.
All right, our guy. So look, you're fresh off a conditioning practice this morning. People want to know. They want all the info. You're here to give it to us. What was going on today?
Well, Tolly, I've said before and I say it again, that comparison is the thief of joy, but I'm not letting it steal my joy. When I compare where we are middle of June this year to where we were middle of June last year, just from a strength and conditioning standpoint, we are way ahead of the curve. And also from the efficiency of PLP, which is player-led practices, you get a couple of those this time of year where the players are out there scripting amongst themselves and, it's no pads or anything like that. Get the opportunity to also do some 7-on-7. I think we are leaps and bounds ahead of where we were this time last year. But as General Manager David Kelly would say, the goal is not to be better than we were last year. The goal is to be the best that we can be this year, and that'll get us to a bowl game and beyond.
Carl, player-led practices. Coaches are still paying attention. What are some of the things they are looking for? What can they glean? What can they learn about their team just watching how leaders lead?
You're looking at the commitment of the players, the dedication, the work ethic. Are they showing up on time? Are they doing the things that they're supposed to do? Are they going to class in summer school? The summer is a huge point of your football program. And the most important part about it is that you're only dealing with the strength coach and the players. So players' leadership has to shine through. And if your players can lead you through the summer, you can have great expectations in the fall. But if you are stumbling in the summer, you know it's going to be a rough season. So right now, all signs point to incredible leadership. You know who the top guys are. We've talked about them at nauseum, and so we know the leadership of Shedeur, the leadership of Travis Hunter, and guys like that. But the linemen that have come in and have changed the culture and the energy of the room on both sides of the ball. It's a tremendous amount of beef down there right now in Boulder. And those guys' work ethic is really starting to change the dynamic of the locker room and the culture of the program.
Neely, we know the names and the faces. Have you seen evolution in leadership heading into this summer?
Yeah, absolutely. You've had some guys who've shown up here who are not conceding that well, I wasn't here last year. Let me just play my role. Let me sit back and wait to fall camp in August or emerge during the season with real playing time. These new guys, as Coach Carl Reed articulated, they've come in and hit the ground running. The Hood brothers out of Georgia, Green coming in at one at linebacker, Hill at linebacker, Green at D line. They're not conceding anything, man. They move around. Their body language, their attention to detail is like they've been here under Coach Prime for a season already, not just been here for a couple of months. So you see, like in the linebacker room, that Coach Hart, added about 7 guys to what he already had, with Jeremiah Brown being one of those previous leaders. But that doesn't mean that's going to stay the case because these guys are going to start to separate themselves, start to emerge as who is the leader of this team. I started off talking about comparison, and we fall into that trap in football when you have to appreciate that in this program specifically, you've not only had significant coaching changes, you've had personnel roster changes. So this is not the same team it was last year. So just because you were a leader 12 months ago doesn't mean you're going to be a leader going forward.
Carl Reed, you cannot win games in the month of June, but I'm sure there are people out there that say you can certainly lose some things over the course of the summer if you're not buttoned up, if people aren't doing what they are supposed to do. As a coach, how do you measure winning and losing in terms of the culture that you're building throughout the course of summer?
Tyler, I know that's coach talk. I've always pushed back on that. I do think you can win games in June and you win them in July. You win your games now. You just pick your trophy up in the wintertime, and in the fall. All battles are won or lost before they are ever fought. So if you're preparing the right way and if you're doing the things that you need to do and preparing to push yourself past pain, this is what June is about.
Neely, I love that.
I love it too, man. It reminds me of this old poem about war. For want of the nail, the rider was lost. And it takes you through all these steps, but by simply missing putting a nail in a horseshoe, that you can ultimately lose a war. So I think that Coach Carl Reed is spot on. This is the time of year where you know what your team is capable of. And the key to that, Coach Carl Reed, is to make sure that these players are pushing themselves right to that limit. It's easy to, once you get acclimated to the environment here, the atmosphere, the altitude, that you're kind of coasting in drills and not really pushing yourself to the point of exhaustion. The only way to keep that needle moving is to keep pushing the needle. So players have to learn how to exert themselves, how to get right to that line but not cross it to go into injury, because that's what's going to sustain you. You know, it's one thing to be in this altitude and you're strong in the first and second or even third quarter, but who can play the fourth quarter like they do the first? And that's what you accomplish in May, June, and July with that conditioning. When you get here for August camp and fall ball, I mean, you're talking about 20, 25 practices before your first game. You ain't got time to get in shape then. That's about installs and week one opponent. So now is the time that you win games through strength and conditioning.
One of the names that, of the many names that we'll be following this season is Tyler Brown. He did not get the waiver last year, had to sit out. He was able to practice and be around the program. Carl, what type of things are you looking forward to from Tyler Brown this season?
I'm looking forward to him playing good football. When you had to sit out a year ago, it obviously is a downer for you. But him being able to get the waiver and get back acclimated to the team, I'm looking for a desire and I'm looking for effort. There's a lot of guys that say they want to play football, but then when it gets taken away from you, it should make you even hungrier when you come back to the field. And I think that he's going to be a major contributor for Colorado this fall.
Neely, what you seeing out of Rock so far, man?
Just that. He is here. He is hungry. He is lean. He is still the strongest guy on the team when it comes to moving that heavy weight around. And it has not taken away from his speed any. He's still the fastest guy amongst those line. And what I'm really liking seeing is that he's adaptable. He can move from different positions up and down that line. But one thing that has happened, Coach Reed, is that he has been inserted over on that left side, got him right next to Jordan Seaton at left tackle, which is going to help Seaton develop, because now you got a savvy veteran like Tyler Brown who can turn his head and tell you what the call is and help you get in the right positions. Because, Jordan Seaton coming from IMG, number one guy at this position, we still have to keep in mind he's still a freshman and he's going to have some freshman tendencies. So having a veteran like Rock next to him, being able to lean over and tell him things is going to be huge. I love what I'm seeing. One of the things we got to factor in, Tolly and Coach Carl, is that offensive line is a full contact position every play, and mileage adds up. And to have a year off on your body and where you can just focus on getting in better shape, the mental aspect of the game, I'm expecting Tyler Brown to have a great season because of that year off.
Carl, interested on your take there. The mix of a veteran and then a rookie or freshman, if you will, who comes in as the top guy at that position but still doesn't have the experience as some of his teammates. What is a perfect combination for those type of relationships to work?
Neely really hit it right on the head there. With the exception of the quarterback position, there is no position that is more mentally advanced than playing on the offensive line. And so you can be a super talented young kid, but when you start seeing different fronts, different stunts, different movements up front, it helps when you have a veteran guy next to you that can help communicate and talk you through some of the things you're seeing. Not just on the field on game day, but also sit next to each other in meetings when you're studying tape, going to the weight room with one another so he can push you in that. So if you have a veteran guy with you, it helps a young lineman in his development tremendously. And you'll look up by week 5 or week 6, that freshman will be playing like the veteran that's sitting next to him.
The gel meter. The offensive line have got a lot of new faces, but they have to gel as a unit. As we sit here, mid part of June, where should that gel meter be, if you will, and where do you think it is, Neely?
You want it to be on a scale of 1 to 10. You want it to be a 10. but I don't think that actually happens until you get into the trenches of real-time warfare, playing football and having a couple of games under your belt. At least getting through a couple of weeks of August camp where you got the pads on and the defense is truly coming at you full speed, full throttle. But I would put this unit somewhere about a 6.5 to 7 as far as that jail meter is concerned. I think you'll get to that 8, in fall camp with pads. And I think probably shortly after week 1, by week 2, fourth quarter, they're going to be hitting at a 10. One thing that happened last year with the offensive line, whether it was the unit themselves and the interchangeable pieces or the relationship with the offensive line coach, they never reached full gelling. And you saw a quarterback lead the nation and getting sacked because of it. I think this line, because Coach Prime puts so much emphasis on relationship building, including no phones at the cafeteria table. You got to talk to each other, not be on your phones playing around. Everything this spring going into the summer has been about relationship building. I think because of that, this offensive line will be stellar as far as it coming together as a unit, not just to win the ones out there, but the twos who come in and back them up.
All right, if we take Neely's word for gospel there with the gel meter, Carl, and he says, 6.5, 7 in that range right there at June. Is that a good grade if you're grading a new team, a new line coming together?
Absolutely, because you're right where you want to be for the month of June. I would be nervous if he said a 2 or 3, but he's saying 6 or 7. That's going to lead you in the preseason camp in August. You continue to work some of the small kinks out. Brown is back now, so you're going to be inserting him back into the lineup. And so I think that you had a kind of schedule that is going to allow them a couple of weeks to gel, and then you right into it.
I'm also very curious. Is Neely allowed to have his phone at the table when he's eating?
Hey,
face down.
I'm gonna tell you what. I'm gonna leave that between him and the big dog.
Yeah. Hey, well, the big dog walks around and he looks, so I make sure mine is face down, and I remind him that mine is also a camera for content, and he'll just shoot me a little thumbs up. But he ain't playing about them phones in the cafeteria table. There's a nice little receptacle for them. They better be in there. You better not be on it. You need to be talking to your teammates.
Hey, it's like going to a Dave Chappelle show, man. You got to get your phones locked up as soon as you get in there. I love it. Carl, I'm looking down at the teams that people say are the teams to beat in the Big 12 this year. Utah, Arizona, Kansas, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, all of which are on the Colorado schedule this year. How are you feeling about those being the teams to beat in the Big 12?
Well, those have been the teams that historically have played very well when you think about Utah, Oklahoma State, and Kansas State, especially. But I'm gonna tell you this: I look at every conference, I watch every team, and I can just tell you that football is an extremely difficult game to play, and it's a difficult game to win. There are no easy wins, but when you got a quarterback and you can protect them, man, you got a hell of a chance.
Neely, are these games you're looking forward to this year with your kind of, hey, this is going to be maybe some new faces, maybe some old teams, but just the excitement level for you as a content creator?
Well, the excitement level couldn't be higher. You're talking about that 6.5 to 7 for the offensive line. The buzz for content around here is 10 plus because what Coach Carl Reed just ended on right there. Man, you got Shedeur Sanders. This is somewhere between a lifetime, once in a lifetime talent to generational talent, meaning you're only going to see one of these in your life, maybe one every 20, 25 years. And when you have a quarterback like that in college football or the NFL, you have a better chance than everybody else who doesn't have a talent like that. So I like where we are because of the quarterback. I like where we are because how we can now protect the quarterback. I love where we are because now we're designed on defense to get to the quarterback and or stop the run. Those are all a combination of things we didn't have last year. Having said that, you never want to look past anybody on the schedule, but as it relates to being in Dallas for December 7th, the Big 12 championship, the focus has to be early on in the season, particularly when Baylor comes to town and when you go to UCF, because much like last year, when you get to the back end of the season, that's when those teams you just named are coming to town and you're going to see them. You got Utah toward the end of the season. You got Oklahoma State coming here for Thanksgiving. And if you don't take care of business early on and you start going up against those guys who've been in this conference and dominating for a while, you don't want it to come down to one of those games that get you in the championship or not. So each week is going to be important here. It's 1 week at a time to go undefeated. But when you look at some of those later games, late in the season, good thing we got 2 bye weeks in the Big 12 because you want people rested up when they go into the heart of that season with those tougher opponents.
Carl, what do you think the road show is going to be like for Colorado moving back to the Big 12? Neely had a chance to see it firsthand in the Pac-12, what it was like when Colorado came to town. What do you think that's going to be like in the Big 12 this year?
It's going to be sellout crowds every week. Everybody wants to see Coach Prime. Everybody wants to see Travis Hunter, Shedeur. Everybody wants to see Shiloh. Everybody wants to see that whole outfit, the way they move around and the excitement they bring to a city. You're going to have sellout games week after week, home and away.
Neely, you're going to meet new fans, man. You went out to what, Oregon? You met your fan base out there. Neely, how excited are you to meet more of the Neelyites across the Big 12 this year?
Well, the Bible talks about enlarging one's territory. So I appreciate and thankful and grateful for this blessing. But also, man, Carl Reed, we can't look past what this means for recruiting in this program. Coach Prime is going to be in Texas twice, and he's going to play UCF in Florida. And so not only are those places going to sell out, they're going to be on TV. There's going to be an opportunity for recruits to be at those games. I remember we went to Texas to play TCU, and TCU had all their recruits in town because they were anticipated to win by 21. Not only did we win the game, their recruits were asking for pictures with our head coach. And so, you're going to have that same kind of atmosphere. Teams are going to be on TV because of who they're playing, that being Colorado. Games are going to sell out that hadn't sold out in stadiums before, and the energy is going to be high and the buzz is going to be exciting. But what it means for this program to now go into that East Coast market, that Texas market recruiting-wise, is going to be a phenomenal approach, and it's going to be take care of business time because the eyes of the nation and the eyes of recruits in those regions are going to be on Colorado football.
Tyler, it's unbelievable to know what the buzz is. I get invited to stuff and people ask me, could you get Coach Prime to be your +1? Like, everybody wants to meet him. Everybody wants to be around him. So when he comes, it's like going to a rock concert.
I will say this. I'm not at the level of you guys, but when I'm at the pool or when I'm just walking down the street and, your neighbor comes up to you and you just have to have that obligatory, 2 minutes of conversation just so you're not rude, the number one thing. What do you think about Colorado this year? If you have nothing else to talk about, that is the icebreaker in any conversation between any two dudes across America. What's Coach Prime going to do this year?
Neely, I was at a 7-on-7 tournament on Tuesday night in Tennessee, and every single kid that was there wanted me to watch their game and watch their reps to see if they were good enough to play for Coach Prime.
Wow, that is major. Coach, we've been having our camps here, had our elite camp with about 500 kids and had 2 back-to-back youth camps with about 700 plus. And to see whether they're in 5th grade or 11th grade, people showing up and know who Deion Sanders is and want to look like him. I saw a 4th grader yesterday on this campus who had on his camp shirt, his shades, and a gold chain. And Coach Prime, was giving him some instructions and drills. And he told him, he said, hey, man, your stunt game is above beyond. Like, you out here stunting. You look like me. Now we just got to coach you up. And to see young people, embrace this guy, and they never saw him play. His playing career has been over since they've been born, but he has a gravitational pull like no other. Our good friend Feinbaum was talking the other day and said how Coach Prime is a celebrity, and we'll see when he becomes a celebrity for coaching. But in his book, he tells you, Coach Reed, Tolly, he's going to be known for coaching more than he is for that gold jacket and playing for the Cowboys, 49ers, or the Falcons.
And he means it too.
Why is it, Neely, Carl? There's so many great basketball players and football players that we grew up watching. And if you drop their name with somebody younger, they'll be like, who? What? You're like, man, he was great, but they've never heard of him. Deion Sanders didn't play in HD TV. The screen was still kind of fuzzy when he was out there playing. Why is it that a fourth grader just knows that's his guy?
Some guys are iconic. When you think of Coach Prime, you got to think of the same, like guys like Allen Iverson. Some guys like Jordan, guys that kind of transcend the movement in decades and the way they made your parents feel and the way that the culture has still. He's also kept himself very relevant with his Truth Youth program. He's been on reality TV the last 20 years. I mean, you got to think about it. We've watched his kids grow up on TV from way back when they were in elementary school coming up through the Truth program. So he has kept himself in the mix.
Yeah, I think that's it right there. The relevancy and the ability to stay relevant with adapting to the times. His personality in the 80s and 90s was tailor-made for social media, but social media didn't exist yet. And he's been able to now stay who he was, but harness that new era of marketing and branding through social media content. And now you're right. A third and fourth grader does know who he is, even though they never saw him play. We got another Hall of Famer in the building, Warren Sapp. And just yesterday, Shedeur Sanders was, standing there on the sideline talking to Coach Sapp and saying, man, I watched some of your highlights last night. I would have loved to play in your era because the rules were tailor-made for me. Sometimes, these kids have to go back and look people up. Other times you can just look on your TV now because no matter if you knew Deion Sanders or not, you've seen him intercept a Subway sandwich in a commercial. You've seen him with KFC and Aflac and Coach Saban. The list goes on and on with Boost Mobile and other partnerships. Here's a guy who, although he has not played in almost 30 years, he's still just as relevant as he was the day he played.
Has it been that long? God, how are we getting old so fast? 30 years. Wow.
Tyler, it's closer to 30 than it is to 20.
Carl, Neely says he's down to go snake catching with Warren Sapp. You want to take
I'm going to leave that to him and Sapp. I see Sapp doing some real wild stuff on Instagram, and every once in a while I be like, bro, what are you on? Then Neely's chiming in like he's going to go with him. It's Gators one day. Then I seen Sapp stick his hand down in a hole and pull the snake out. I'm going to leave that to them country boys, man. I'm going to stay away from that type of nonsense, man. I'm a city guy. I'm a big city guy from St. Louis. I'm going to let them country boys, Neely down there from Mississippi, Sapp from Apopka, Florida, wherever he from. I'm going to let them fool around with the snakes and the alligators and the lions, tigers, and bears and whatever they got going on. Count me out of that.
Oh my, lions, tigers, bears. Neely, I am country, man, but when it comes to a snake, we're on a all right now basis. If the snake is black, I'm like, all right now, I'm gonna let you go if you keep on moving. But
yeah, Neely and Tolly, remember in Boys in the Hood when Cuba said to Ice Cube, "Let me out, though." That's where I'm at with Neely and Sapp. Y'all, let me out the ride. I'm out.
All right, Neely, I already see that
right
meme.
over. Let you out, and we're going to still be cool the next morning, just like Trey and Doughboy.
Yeah.
I see that meme coming to social media on the pregame show already. All right, we're going to leave it there with snake catching. If you're out, raise your hand. I think me and Carl are out on snake catching. Neely, good luck to you, brother. I'm sure Sapp will have your back.
Hey, I'm going to give it a try, but I'm not blindly sticking my arm down the hole. I need to be able to see what I'm about to touch.
All right. Well, hopefully the snake obliges you. Good luck. All right. That's it for the big boys. It's Coach Carl Reed, 24/7 Sports college football analyst. Uncle Neely in Boulder, Colorado. I'm Tolly in Atlanta. We'll see you guys on the other side. Maybe Neely. I don't know.